Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the 7th Quadraplex of the Triton Lego Railway. Now there's a lot of good things and a lot of bad things about this engine. We'll get to all of those in time, but one thing I want to quickly point out, when the action video comes out, do not expect anything amazing. The driving is absolutely awful because I went to Shapeways again, bought some of the XXL wheels. As you can see, the engine is using a lot of those. They are a nightmare to get on, of course, with my history with using these 3D printed wheels in the past hasn't gone perfectly well, and obviously with the history of the Emerald Champion, which is next to it as well, keeping it on the tracks is an absolute nightmare. But we'll get to that later on. Let's just focus on our newest addition. Look at this for an engine! My god, I'm actually kind of happy that I salvaged this. So, this was an engine, like with its history, it was made for the sake of being made, and I quite liked having it around, especially some of the later models that I had made. The one where it was like a double fairly, so to say, where it had the door to the cab in between the two sets of wheels. That was pretty cool. I think that was the last version before I ultimately scrapped it and turned it all into the Horizon Express. Speaking of which, it is behind me, and it is now down to 7 coaches. I've taken off the front and back coaches to turn into the engine, mainly because of the slopes, and the orange parts were all being used as a part of the boiler and just part of some more details. So yeah, all said and done, let's just jump straight in at long last. So we have a nice streamlined front using many of the slope pieces, especially some more slopes at the top in front of the funnel, going down onto the little separate connection point where the front set of wheels are. We have a cow catcher as well to kind of continue that sloped look. So looking at it from a side, we have that perfect little slide going down there, and it looks absolutely amazing. I did try to do something in terms of keeping it 8 wide, because obviously these parts are 6 wide, and had to build out a little bit more just to add some more slopes or something on the side, which is a bit awkward. But in terms of the actual shape of it, it doesn't look too bad. Again, I had to work with a boiler that was going to be 6 wide rather than going into 8, and since I was using these, the whole thing had to be brick built going upwards. I couldn't really use many round pieces. I was able to do a bit of work on the top though, but we'll get to that in just a second. The funnels, I've given it 2 funnels because why not, and it uses a lot of these little square corner pieces, which are pretty cool. I do like these. I have used these for other funnels before, and I like using these because of the squareness of it. You see so many round funnels, obviously, which is tradition, so to say, but you know, a different shape is quite nice. Some more of these gate pieces going along the sides as well. I've only got 4 of them because that's all I had, and with the shops that I went on Bricklink, I couldn't find many more, so just 4 on each side, that's all I went with, which is pretty cool. And we'll go along the top of the boiler to carry on for a moment. Let's bring the train forward a little bit. We have a nice grey sort of flat, I don't know what you would call this, it's not a plate, but it's just a grey layer, so to say, just along the top. Obviously you can't really get many orange slopes because slopes in orange pieces are quite rare, and also it's not the best looking thing, to be honest, having just an all orange body. So adding the grey kind of breaks up the vibrant colour. I suppose that's the best word to use, because it's, when I compare this to other engines, it's kind of like Big Red in the sense where Big Red has a lot of red on it, and obviously when I'm putting it in front of the camera doesn't really like how much red there is, and it's trying to focus it all in, and it just looks like one big chunk of red. You can't really see some of the other bricks and some of the details and the outlines of where the bricks are. So breaking it up is a pretty good idea, and just adding things in the middle like some more dome pieces, some different details, slopes as well, going all the way along the cross. The top, got a little detail here going on just to display the whistle, which I think looks pretty cool. And then we go into the cab, but we'll get to that in just a moment. First of all, let's go over the wheels. These are the same wheel sets as the Emerald Champion uses, sets of 6, and this features something very, very different to all of my other engines. So we have a new little driving system, I suppose you could say. So the other ones used to be just like these, but held in like that way, and there would be a little rod driving in one of the holes inside. This time I've got 2 antenna pieces connected to the side, connected in just such a height where I can get another driving rod. So well, I'm having to use another Technic brick for this, but the idea is that that sits on a certain stud. Just make sure I bring it in without breaking it, and that creates a much more realistic action. That would be absolutely incredible if the wheels were actually able to stay on the fucking track. Piece of shit wheels. But I wanted to use the XXL wheels because, you know, they're large wheels, they're really cool. I still don't like, you know, they're 3D printed and I fully accept that that's the case. And I knew full well I was going to have to do a lot of work to be able to get them in the little slots, like these Technic pieces, basically to be able to build up the wheelbases. I just don't like how they keep lifting off the tracks, it's so annoying. But, you know, it's all built now and it's not really too much left to complain about, so it could be worse. Doesn't feel, you know, I'm just feeling up the boiler as well, it doesn't feel 100% balanced on the track. Just wondering if it's derailed anywhere. So yeah, just moving on, we got some more details. Again, this is what I meant earlier about the action video. Look, it's not always going to be smooth sailing. Obviously we've got some of the wheels that are just jamming because it was absolutely impossible to keep things smooth. The cab originally had white details going from here, white windows, but that changed into just a smaller cab bit as a whole and some more orange details as well. So originally we had these pieces here and I came up to about like here. That was because I didn't have many of these little grey pieces at the moment. So I pulled the massive orange detail that was about here, just moved it all the way back, changed the cab to a grey detail because I want to continue using that light grey colour as I'm using as my secondary throughout the entire engine, which I think looks pretty good. I did want to keep the white roof though for 2 reasons. First of all, adding more colour, always good. Second of all, I didn't have any other slope pieces in any other colour. I suppose, well, I did have black to be honest after taking them off the roofs of the other coaches on the Horizon Express. But, you know, the black just, I don't know. It's too dark, so to say. We've got the bright colours, you know, we've got orange and a light grey. Just putting the black on there as a big, chunky, kind of heavy piece didn't look too nice, so I just opted with the white and just stuck with that. I'm happy with it though. It says mildly. I still don't like, this is probably the lightest bit of the engine. It's almost the 3rd set of wheels that don't have any traction. Right, now this is the, actually no. I was going to say this would be the scary bit when I have to move the engine around the corner to be able to continue, but I can just shuffle forward because it's that, I've built up the loop literally 10 minutes ago before recording just to create the action video, and I'm so scared that I'm going to be suffering so many accounts of this thing not staying on the track. Oh, Jesus. This can only go well, this can only go well. Right, let's come back to this, shall we? The first tender. I've taken the similar approach as to the first tender with the Emerald Champion. You can see the details going on there, so I knew what to use. This was basically my template, seeing in terms of like the wheel sizes and what like tender sizes and heights and lengths and that sort of thing. So taking that over here, I have taken the approach of obviously keeping the roof bit 8 wide, as well as like the first bit up to where the roof ends. And the rest of the main tender itself will go into 6 wide to match the width of the wheels. Nothing too much going on, to be honest. We just got a little pit for something. I had one of these slopes left over, and I kind of wanted to do something more with them. But at the same time, if I try and lift it up too much, it just looks silly. This is, you know, it's at this point where I started running out of orange pieces. That's why you can see I'm using these massive plates, especially facing inwards. I might have to turn those around just to make it a little bit nicer, to be honest. I did have a plan. In the first work in progress video, I made a mock tender which had basically these big plate pieces and some white tile pieces going all the way around the outside. That was the idea, to try and use some more white bricks, but light grey took over and this was the end result. Not too fussed over it, but at the same time it could look so much better. But the limitation in terms of bricks is really, really frustrating. It can really set back any plans that you have, which is quite annoying. You know, just in terms of getting details again on the top of the tender, it's just finding some more light grey bricks and just finding a way to make it look not ugly, which I kind of failed to do, I suppose. We have a light on the back as well. I like the idea of having it streamlined, but just something sticking out. Just why not? Also wanted to use some more of these slope bricks on the back as well to try and match the height of the standard coach. And I've also taken off the light grey wheels from the Greyhound as well. And I've put them onto the back of this. This is its own little separate wheelbase as well, like you have on the back of the Emerald Champion. Again, using it as a template. This is only 6 wide at the moment because I didn't have, again, I wanted to try and copy the idea of having it come out a little bit more, so that slopes out into 8 wide again. But again, they're all being occupied along here, so I can't really do anything with that now, can I? Got grey buffers as well, which is pretty cool, but I don't like the old style magnet you can see me flicking around here, which is kind of weak, to be honest. And I had some troubles with the Midnight Panther because it uses these old style buffers, but they're in red, so being able to use red buffers was cool, but I was stuck with using an old style magnet which could break away from the coaches at any moment if I wasn't careful. But as a whole, this engine just looks absolutely splendid. Just looks, it's so unique. I mean, look at this, it's another streamlined Quadraplex. I have 2 of them now. We should do a race, this one versus the Blue Guardian. Which one's faster? Well, there's only one way to find out. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all in the action video. God help me.